You found yourself on another edition of Let 'Em Know Kings United, and on today's episode, if it wasn't for Sam Merrill in the second unit, the Cavaliers would have lost to the San Antonio Spurs. The Cavaliers get their worst win of the season, while the Sacramento Kings get their worst loss of the season as they got simply outworked by the New Orleans Pelicans. We got a lot to talk about and a lot of venting in the case of Sacramento right here on Let 'Em Know Kings United. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is that time for the post-game reaction podcast of the Cleveland Cavaliers, Sacramento Kings, and the Chicago Bulls. This is Let 'Em Know Kings United. Let 'em know, Nation. You know what time it is, and let's just get this over with because I am pissed off today. But in any event, welcome to another edition of Let 'Em Know Kings United, your Cleveland Cavaliers, Chicago Bulls, and Sacramento Kings post-game reaction podcast. And I am your host, Scarlett Weisberg. Thank you so much for tuning into today's program. And you can find Let 'Em Know Kings United, which is 100% completely free and available on Amazon Music, Google Podcast, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Radio Public, Pandora, or wherever you want to listen to this show. Give the show a follow on those platforms. If you can please turn on your notifications so you know about the next episode. Please rate, spread the word out to your friends, and give Let 'Em Know Kings United a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you want to listen to this on. It is a great way to support the podcast, and I appreciate every single one of you for tuning in. To quote my man Matt George from the Locked On Kings podcast, I'm about to put more effort into Let 'Em Know Kings United than the Sacramento Kings did all night last night, because across the board, I'm going to speak from the bottom of my heart here. That was the worst basketball game that I've ever watched in my life. Honestly, this is the worst loss of the season for the Sacramento Kings. And long and behold, it's against the team that they just can't beat. The New Orleans Pelicans are a matchup nightmare for the Sacramento Kings, and once again, they expose Sacramento for the frauds that they are. 133-100 in a game where at one point, the New Orleans Pelicans led by 50 points, and it was at the Golden One Center. You lose that bad at home. Now, I understand that the Pelicans are a matchup nightmare. I'll give them that. I understand that Zion Williamson was out of the game due to a non-COVID illness from what I'm mistaken. But my God, the New Orleans Pelicans simply outworked, outcoached, simply outplayed a Sacramento Kings team that honestly does not belong in the contender circle. I am so sorry for every single Sacramento King fan that might be listening to this and watched this game last night. I was so disgusted with the efforts of the Sacramento Kings last night that I had to turn that game off and watch a very entertaining game, by the way, between the Dallas Mavericks and the Minnesota Timberwolves. At least that game showed me some passion. At least that game showed me some fight. At least both teams came to play. In the Sacramento Kings New Orleans Pelicans case, one team came to play and one team needs to be relegated from the G League. First and foremost, I need to give all the credit to the New Orleans Pelicans. It was a wire-to-wire masterclass on how to play the game of basketball. Willie Green said it was beautiful. It was just fun basketball to watch. They executed on both ends of the floor. It was the most complete performance I've seen the New Orleans Pelicans all year. And to all you basketball coaches out there, if you want to teach your kids how to get better in the game of basketball, just show what the New Orleans Pelicans did. Because it was just a masterclass. It was a masterclass. This team executed on both ends of the floor, and they simply outplayed the Sacramento Kings wire to wire. They were getting more rebounds. They were more urgent. They showed more passion. They showed more energy. And Willie Green just outcoached Mike Brown. I'm starting to question if Mike Brown is the right coach for the Sacramento Kings because honestly, every time the Sacramento Kings lose, they get the bricks blown out of them. And I don't mind the loss. I mean, we knew that the New Orleans Pelicans are a matchup nightmare for the Sacramento Kings. I can understand that. But post-game, when a two-way player for the second time this season is the only Sacramento King that speaks to the media, I'm going to take a lot of issues with that. De'Aaron Fox, you are not the leader that I thought you were. Only 3 points, 1 of 10 for the field. I understand that you had a rough night. Rough nights do happen, and I understand that. But my God, you not speaking to the media after this debacle? That is just disgraceful. That is disgraceful. At least Domantas Sabonis spoke to the media in the locker room, but at least Domas spoke to the media after the game. He had another double-double. He was the only Sacramento King that showed up, honestly. The bench in the fourth quarter showed more heart, passion, and fight than what the starters did. It was just a clear butt kicking in every single aspect of the game. Mike Brown apologized to the Sacramento Kings fans in the Golden One Center who spent their money coming to watch the game. He said for us to perform that way and the lack of fight to get back in the game, stay in the game, was non-existent. The Pelicans won comfortably, even without Zion Williamson, who was out with a right quad contusion. Green said before the game that Williamson was doing good, but would not be available. Jose Alvarado, who was an absolute pest, especially on the defensive end, had a non-COVID illness who missed the game. And despite all of that, New Orleans still proceeded to kick the living daylights out of the Sacramento Kings. Listen, I never thought I would say this, but the Sacramento Kings, you are no longer the contenders that I thought you were. You are no longer one of the best teams in the Western Conference. Y'all are pretenders. Y'all are serious pretenders. Because every loss you got, it's not a close loss. You get the bricks blown out of you. The Portland loss, the 2 Pelicans losses, the 2 Houston losses. I cannot forget the Boston loss at home that you got millie-whopped by the Boston Celtics. This is just embarrassing. This is embarrassing. I am truly embarrassed to come on here and rant about a Sacramento Kings team who simply gave up. Brandon Ingram said we had some good IQ on the floor where he was hiding. We kept feeding him the basketball. He's talking about CJ McCollum, who had a standout game last night. He felt comfortable tonight, and we just kept feeding him, so we always try to go to what's hot. They rolled the hot hand, and CJ McCollum said it's a really good feeling when you're able to beat a team on the home floor and you hear their fans booing. And you know what? To every single fan in the Golden One Center, you have an absolute right to boo the living hell out of this Sacramento Kings team. Because honestly, this Sacramento Kings team is absolute garbage. Yes, they're talented. Yes, they're 6 games above 500. We're still a good basketball team. I get that. But when you look at the losses that the Sacramento Kings team have, every single loss feels like a blowout. The head coach said after the game, Mike Brown, he said he's never been in a situation where consistently the Sacramento Kings lack fight. Look at the Dallas Mavericks. Look at the Minnesota Timberwolves. Hell, look at the New Orleans Pelicans. Those are three teams right there that have more heart, more fight, more accountability, and certainly more leadership than what the Sacramento Kings have brought all year. De'Aaron Fox, you might be part of the leadership community, but I'm sorry, you are not a leader. Domas Sabonis, you're showing your leadership in the stats, but you're not showing your leadership in the media. Harrison Barnes, now I'm not going to blame him for not speaking to the media because all the rumors of Harrison Barnes being traded, I'm not going to blame him. But honestly, to every single Sacramento King fan that was hoping that the Sacramento Kings would get better, despite the fact that they broke the playoff drought last year and they bombed and they debuted the beam, I'm going to tell you a really hard truth right now that I never thought I would speak to, but I'm going to say it. The Sacramento Kings have zero mentality, but 100% complacency. The Kings have no mentality, but 100% complacency. They're comfortable. They're comfortable with all this noise. They are comfortable with all this attention. That is complacency, I'm telling you. Y'all are complacent. You're not going to get better until you learn how to fight back, till you learn how to have heart. You are nothing but tin men and have no courage. You have no courage of a lion tonight. I am sorry, but I hate to tell everybody the truth. The Sacramento Kings are no longer contenders. And I swear to God, if Sacramento goes into these two trap games, I'm going to call it a trap game. If they lose to a 3-30 Detroit Piston team on Tuesday, you think this rant's bad? Oh, I'm going to completely go off if the Sacramento Kings lose to Detroit. Watch them lose to Charlotte. Watch them lose to Charlotte. And then they get embarrassed on national TV against the Philadelphia 76ers. I don't think this team is capable of winning more games because they got no mentality, they got no heart, they got no fight, they certainly got no leadership. Like during the game, they just quit. They just quit. They switched the lights off after they warmed up. To quote the Notre Dame basketball coach, the Sacramento Kings game was over before it even started. All credit to the New Orleans Pelicans. They showed more energy. They showed more fight. They showed more heart. Their basketball IQ was right off the charts. Willie Green, you deserve credit. You deserve a ton of credit for this. The New Orleans Pelicans team deserves a lot of credit, and they deserve to fly to wherever their next game is. As far as the Sacramento Kings, I do not want to see every member of the Kings fly to Detroit. You know that scene at Hell's Kitchen season 11 episode 1 where the red team, the women's team with Janelle, Cindy, Susan, all of that, they won the Signature Dish Challenge and their reward was to stay in Vegas for the rest of the night, while the blue team was punished by sitting in a school bus for like 3, 5, 7 hours with no air conditioning. That is exactly what I want to see the Sacramento Kings doing. They deserve to get punished, and punished badly. And I want to see them drive to Detroit in a school bus for hours with no air conditioning. Maybe that will show the Sacramento Kings what accountability means. Because, honestly, and I'm going to keep it real when I say this, the Sacramento Kings are not going to get better. They're not. On paper, they're talented. On paper, they are a good team. But on the court, we're average. There's no leadership in or out of the court, and I am absolutely disgusted. Mike Brown said that he's got to do more with this group because there's no accountability, no fight. What about you change your mentality and then you go back to winning? Because the mentality of this team is absolutely awful. It is so bad that I even have to change the core four of the teams that I follow. And yes, I'm going to still cover the Sacramento Kings. Yes, I'm still going to cover them, and I'm still going to do this. I'm still going to keep the name Let 'Em Know Kings United for anybody that is confused or anybody that's shocked. But the new core four, the Chicago Bulls, Cleveland Cavaliers, LA Clippers, and the Dallas Mavericks. Yes, I said it. The Dallas Mavericks earned their spot in the core four because Luka and Kyrie Irving have more effort, more mentality, more fight than what the Sacramento Kings as a team did last night. I'm not even going to talk about the stats for this game because the New Orleans Pelicans dominated every single stat. They shot 61% from the field, 54% from three. They out-rebounded the Sacramento Kings 51-25. It was almost like the Sacramento Kings played like soft-ass pillowcases. No sense of toughness or physicality whatsoever. The fast break points, 19-6 New Orleans. Points in the paint, 48-44 New Orleans. 9 offensive rebounds, 51-25 of the rebounds. The assist, 35-28 New Orleans. It was just a New Orleans Pelicans Mardi Gras party all night long. Brandon Ingram, 15 points. 8 assists, 4 rebounds. CJ McCollum, 30 off the bench, 7 rebounds. Herb Jones, 9 points. 3 rebounds. Trey Murphy, 11 points, 2 rebounds. Najee Marshall, 11 points, 6 rebounds. Hawkins, 14 points, 5 rebounds. Daniels had 5 rebounds. I'm sorry. Hawkins had 3. I'm so mad that I can't even speak right now. Larry Nance Jr., 5 rebounds and only 2 points. The only people that showed up for the Sacramento Kings were Domantas Sabonis, 17 points, 10 rebounds, another double-double for him. Kevin Huerter, 17 points, 3 rebounds off the bench. That was a good game for Kevin Huerter. And Keon Ellis, 13 points off the bench. He was a +9 on the night, a +14 for Alex Len, a -3 for Kevin Huerter. But my God. Sacramento, I'm disappointed. I'm embarrassed. I'm absolutely disgusted. And right now, as far as me watching you guys live, I can't right now. I really can't. I would rather watch the Cleveland Cavaliers, Chicago Bulls, LA Clippers, and the Dallas Mavericks live, and the Sacramento Kings get the on-demand treatment for the remainder of the season going into next year until they learn what leadership means, until they get a better mentality, and until they talk about the accountability that I've been hearing about all training camp. I'm starting to think, honestly, that the Sacramento Kings are all talk, all bark, but when it comes to the game, especially with the New Orleans Pelicans, they don't got a damn bite in them. The Sacramento Kings are a bunch of puppies, while the New Orleans Pelicans played like a bunch of dogs. All credit to New Orleans. Well-deserved credit. And I swear for Lord, if Detroit beats the Sacramento Kings on Tuesday, I might have to change the show to Let Them Know Mavericks United or Let Them Know Mavs United or something. Maybe this rant will light a fire in Sacramento's ass. Maybe. But as of right now, Detroit has the momentum. Even though they're a 3-31 record-wise team, they're a better team than what 3-31 says. I don't care if the Pistons coaching staff is terrible. Right now, Detroit has the momentum while Sacramento's got a lot to figure it out. They got a long road trip, so maybe they'll bond as a group and win some games on the road. But my God, if you lose to Detroit on Tuesday, I don't know what to tell you. Coming up next, Despite the fact that the Cleveland Cavaliers beat Victor Wembanyama and the San Antonio Spurs, I'm calling this game the worst win of the season, and I'll explain why when we come back on Let 'Em Know Kings United. We're back on Let 'Em Know Kings United, and after I caught my breath about the Sacramento Kings rant, I realized that there's another game to talk about, and that was the Cleveland Cavaliers holding off the San Antonio Spurs 117-115 in a game where it was absolutely ugly. It was ugly because I think to the first quarter, right? The first quarter, I see the starters, Jarrett Allen, Caris LeVert, Isaac Okoro, Max Strus, Dean Wade, Donovan Mitchell, and Jarrett Allen have zero energy. Zero energy right out of the gate. I understand that it was a matinee game, and both the Cavs and the Brooklyn Nets, who lost their trap game against the Portland Trail Blazers, by the way, are going to Paris to play this week, and I will have a podcast covering that game. But I thought that Devin Vassell, Sochan, Victor Wembanyama, and the San Antonio Spurs had more energy to at least start the game than the Cleveland Cavaliers did. And I thought that this was going to be the worst loss that the Cleveland Cavaliers had all season. But to Jarrett Allen's credit, he stepped up. 29 points and 16 rebounds. But there was another key matchup for Jarrett Allen, and it was Victor Wembanyama. He had 24 points and 10 rebounds and 5 blocks in 25 minutes. The 7'3" Frenchman, the number 1 overall pick, leads the NBA in blocks and ranks first among rookies in scoring, rebounding, and steals. But again, Chet Holmgren deserves the Rookie of the Year more than Victor Wembanyama right now. Speaking of Jarrett Allen, the big man is averaging 21 points and 15 rebounds over the last 7 games for Cleveland, which has now won 3 in a row. But I will say this, the starting lineup to at least start the game had zero energy. No urgency coming right out of the gate. They just allowed Devin Vassell to go absolutely crazy, Jeremy Sochan to go absolutely crazy. They were shooting the lights out, San Antonio were. And defensively, San Antonio stepped up, especially early in the game. But I need to see every single starter for the Cleveland Cavaliers give a huge and sincere thank you to the second unit of Tristan Thompson, Caris LeVert, and more specifically, Sam Merrill. If it wasn't for him, we would have lost this game. I mean, I don't understand why that Sam Merrill is just a two-way player. He deserves to be in the main roster because this man, Sam Merrill, came in here and he sparked the living hell out of the Cleveland Cavaliers, and you love to see that. You love to see how Jarrett Allen played a big part in this game. But more specifically, Sam Merrill was a big reason why the Cleveland Cavaliers won this game. He scored 18 points, and Donovan Mitchell scored 17 and 9 assists for the Cleveland Cavaliers. And by the way, they're 8-3 since the injuries. But Caris LeVert said in the fourth quarter, we took our foot out of the gas a little bit. And honestly, I thought Cleveland was going to fall into the trap. That fourth quarter, I got to give San Antonio a lot of credit. They might be a 5-win basketball team, but they don't play like a 5-win basketball team. This team is young, this team is talented, this team is scrappy, and even Greg Popovich said we outscored the Cleveland Cavaliers 11-0 in the last 3 minutes. So the defense was pretty good. So the defense was pretty good. Devin Vassell went absolutely crazy. He had 22 points. Trey Jones and Keldon Johnson each had 18 for the San Antonio Spurs. And former Cleveland Cavalier Cedi Osman had 9 points and 6 rebounds in his return to Cleveland. The Spurs had a pair of opportunities, but Jeremy Sochan threw the ball out of bounds with 10 seconds left, and his 31-footer was off target at the buzzer. San Antonio has the second worst record in the NBA at 5-30, and it's 0-11 against the Eastern Conference because San Antonio, they don't have a really good basketball IQ right now. Credit to the Cleveland Cavaliers for taking advantage, honestly, but Jarrett Allen, he's got to be an all-star. J.B. Bickerstaff said, I don't know how any big man, any center who is playing better than Jarrett Allen right now. But in my opinion, he's an all-star. He's got to be. He is deserving. Wembanyama said about Jarrett Allen, he was a great threat and is a player that I respect. He's the type of player I like, and he's already had a long career. He's efficient and does hard jobs. And by the way, San Antonio, you're already messing with Victor Wembanyama's career, bro. Putting the 7'3" French phenom, the number 1 overall pick, in a minutes restriction? Like, come on now. Jarrett Allen said, you know how we do it down here. We like to keep fans engaged. I'm excited for Wemby because he's talented, takes people off the dribble, is an excellent shot blocker, post up, he has it all. And you don't realize how big his wingspan is until you go against him. But the real MVP was the second unit, and especially Sam Merrill. If it wasn't for him, the Cleveland Cavaliers would have had the worst loss of the season going in to their Paris game against the Brooklyn Nets. I mean, they found a way to win. Right? It was an ugly game for Cleveland. They found a way to win. Jarrett Allen was an absolute beast as usual, but Cleveland's got a lot to clean up. The Cavs got a lot to clean up. But you know what? It wasn't pretty, it was ugly, but hey, a win's a win, and that's all that matters. It's the worst win of the season, but a W is a W. I think the Cavaliers would do a lot better in San Antonio the next time these two teams play against each other. Both teams shot 48 or 49% of the field respectively. The rebounds were 44-40 in favor of the Cleveland Cavaliers. The assists 27-22 in favor of the Cavs. The blocks were 6-3 in favor of the Spurs. Honestly, Victor Wembanyama plays a big part of that. 10-6 were the steals advantage for the San Antonio Spurs. The turnovers, 16 turnovers for the Cleveland Cavaliers compared to 11 for the San Antonio Spurs. The points of the paint were 50-44. The fast break points were 21-20. Jarrett Allen, this dude is an all-star, bro. 29 points, 16 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal, 1 block. Donovan Mitchell, 17 points, 9 assists on the night with 2 boards. Sam Merrill was the big story in this game. 18 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists. He was 5-9 from 3-point range. Karis LeVert with 23 off the bench. He had 3 assists, 2 rebounds. He was 4 for 5 from 3-point range. I thought Tristan Thompson came up big with 8 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists. George Niang, 11 points. He was 3 for 6 from 3-point range. He was finding his stroke a little bit late. Max Strus, 8 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. As far as the San Antonio Spurs, I got to give him credit because Victor Wembanyama, he held his own. 24 points, 10 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal, 5 blocks. Vassell went crazy with 22 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 rebounds, 3 steals. Johnson, 18 points off the bench, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, and a steal on the night. He was 3 for 6 from 3-point range, by the way. Vassell was 4 for 9 from 3-point range. Even Victor Wembanyama made 2 threes on the game, and Jeremy Sochan finished with 11 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. He was 2 for 5 from three-point range. Look, it was the worst win that the Cleveland Cavaliers had all season, but hey, a win is a win, and I'll take it, right? Now, the Cleveland Cavaliers have a little bit of momentum going into Paris, but they got a lot to clean up. That's going to do it for today's edition of Let 'Em Know Kings United. You can find this show on Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Radio Public, Pandora, or wherever else you want to listen to this show. Give the show a follow on those platforms. If you can please turn on your notifications so you know about the next episode. Please rate, spread the word out to your friends, and give this show a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you want to listen to this on. I'm your host, Skylar Weisberg. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you next time for another edition of Let 'Em Know Kings United.